What is up, guys? Team Feels here with another deck profile, and today we're going to be taking a look at my Salamangreat list for the April 2020 format. Now, if anyone has been paying attention today, there is the Luxury Gaming Championship Series going on currently. I opted not to join. I had schoolwork that I'd do over this weekend, so I just said, you know what, I'm not going to bother doing that because I don't have the time to. So instead, I have a Salamangreat deck together that I want to show you guys. As you guys know, this is one of my favorite decks of all time. I got top 4 at a regional with it this past November. So I just play this deck a lot. It's a lot of fun to play. I think it's because it's a deck that spams level 3 monsters, and considering I think that BA is my personal favorite deck of all time, anything spamming level 3 monsters I typically cling to. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm playing this. When we get to the extra deck, I'm going to show you guys something interesting too, because the extra deck, I actually have 2 different sets of ways to play it. So I'm going to showcase both of those to you when I get to it, but we will obviously start with the main deck. We have 3 Foxy. I think 3 Foxy is just standard. Being able to summon it from grave and have it also be a Pot of Duality is just amazing. It's just a really, really good double purpose card. 2 Spinny. I've been thinking about cutting this to 1, but 2 still comes up, so I'm still playing 2 right now. And then the 1 Gazelle for the other level 3. Then for the level 4s, 3 Jack Jaguar, which I think is necessary. I see a lot of people playing 2 of this, but if, like, most lists play Desires, so if your Desires went away and then your opponent called buys or DD Crows the other one, then you're in a rough spot. So I like to play 3 to maximize the consistency. I play 2 Foul. I've been contemplating cutting this to 1, but honestly I think that 2 is still really good because it helps interrupt your Gazelle dumping chain as well, so your opponent can't ash it or something, which a lot of people like to ash that for some reason. This deck plays through every hand trap though, other than Nibiru, and even then it can play through that. Then 1 Falco. I feel like 1 Falco is just the standard. Then the other Cybers cards, I play 2 Debug and 2 Bufferlo. I like to have some variation. I don't want to have it be that I have to play only 3 copies of one or 3 copies of the other. I think having the variation is good. Now, if it was the prior format in which I got top 4 at that regional, I'd say just play the Bufferlos because Debug was at 1. So at that point, I'd just play the 3 Buffalo and no Debug, because I think that at that point Debug wasn't as good. But I think playing it this way currently is nice for the nice little variance of it. Then hand traps, 3 Ash. This is just standard. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary there. 3 Ash is kind of a must. 2 DD Crow. I think that even going forwards, there's going to be a lot of good a lot of good graveyard decks. I think there'll be good back row decks too, but that's not what this is going to do. I think DD Crow is going to be pretty solid against a decent amount of the meta going forwards. Obviously, we're not going to see Spiral, and we're not going to see Lunalight in April because of the way the ban list was, but I still think that there's going to be plenty of graveyard decks. I think you're going to see a lot of mirror matches and a lot of Orchist as well, so DD Crow is really, really good. And then double Nibiru. I opted to main deck it. You don't have to, but I think it's necessary. That's just me personally. I think a lot of decks are going to be doing summon 5 monsters and break a board kind of scenario. So having the Nibirus there to literally just break their board so they can't play is a pretty solid choice. That's all the monsters though. Moving on to the spells. 3 Mining. That's pretty standard. Nothing out of the ordinary there. 3 Will, which is also standard. This card is just Soul Charge, so like if you're not playing it, I don't know why you aren't playing 3. Then 1 Circle and 1 Sanctuary. That's about as basic as it gets. Then we need to play these now. Got to play Cyclones in the main deck. Mystic Mine is going to be running rampant next format. I would bet money on it. Striker is going to be a deck. I promise you, as crazy as it sounds, it may not sound all that crazy with some explaining. You have 2 Widow Anchors and you have 3 Avarice. That by itself gives Striker more spell cards in grave, more access to the extra deck, as well as more access to stealing your monsters. The only thing they lost was 1 Mind Control, which Widow Anchor is better than Mind Control anyways, so So yeah, playing Cyclones is really good, and they have 3 Mystic Mines still, which is crazy. And then I'm playing 2 Desires. Typically, if you guys pay attention to a lot of my profiles, I only ever play 1 pot of Desires in any deck. I wanted to play 2. I'm testing it. I might cut it down to 1. Currently, this is a 41 card list, so like I'm thinking about cutting 1 and doing either the 3rd Nibiru or 3rd DD Crow, but I'm not sure yet. I'm still trying it out, or the 3rd Cyclone, one or the other. Then the traps, double Imperm, double Roar, and double Rage. I think this is probably like your best lineup. I see some people who are playing 3 of each of these now, which I think is comical. You should not be playing 3 of each of them in any scenario. If you are to play 3, you'd probably want to play 3 of this just because like it can banish itself. But I would never play 3 copies of any of them. You should be able to win before you have to resolve that many copies. That's the main deck though, 41 cards like I said. Thinking about either cutting a Desires to make it 40 exact, or cutting a Desires and adding another card that would be a 3rd copy of something. I also contemplated cutting 1 Desires and putting in 2 Phantasme to make it a 42 card list, but I didn't want to do that. I don't think Phantasme is that great going into the Master Rule update. But the extra deck, we'll go over the standard stuff first. 3 Balinks, 3 Wolf, and 2 Heat Leo. So this is variation number 1, basically. Then that's all for like the salad monsters. I'm not playing Pyro Phoenix, but that'll be in the 2nd variation. 1 Hida, 1 Phoenix, 1 Update Jammer, 1 Transcode, and 1 Avermax. So I'm just going to explain the 2nd variation, that way you guys can see it. So I'm just going to slide these up a little bit. So we have 2 Pyro Phoenix and a Lingeribo. So the variation that you can do is that you can play 3 of these and pull out the Avermax Transcode and Update. It's kind of player preference. I like bouncing back and forth between each to kind of see which is working best from a week-to-week basis. Obviously, with not having locals, I'm just playing online and testing against friends, so I'm not getting a full locals experience, but I can still kind of see what most people are playing going forwards, and I think being able to have, like I said, the variation of being able to bounce back and forth between these 3 cards and these 3 cards is really solid. So it's kind of your preference, whatever you like to do. I think either works really well. The upside to playing the transcode, Update, and Avermax is that it gives you easier access to OTKs, whereas with this variation with the Pyro Phoenixes and the Lingeribo, you have an easier chance of wiping out their field, which kind of is nice, depending on the decks that you're playing against. So just player preference, whatever you guys prefer to do. I would say either way is correct. It's kind of, like I said, it's just up to you. I would not say I'm biased towards either way. But then the Xyz monsters, we play 1 Dweller and 1 Baguska. This card's crazy against Shadal Invoked, and considering Mind Control went to 1, this card's even better. Just slap it in defense and watch your opponent probably cry, which is a lot of fun. But that is the extra deck. We will now move on to the side deck. I always tell you guys, per usual, that the side deck is subjective. It depends on what you're playing against, what you think the meta is going to be. This is just my guesstimate from what I'm looking at so far. So, 3 Lancia. I think this card is amazing against a lot of matchups. I won't even go in depth outside of Orcust and Dino. There's a bunch of other decks that you can hit with this card that hurts them too, but Orcus and Dino are going to be the 2 big ones next format. 2 Retaliating Sea. This is obviously for the Mech Invoked matchup, or anything Shadal related, that, you know, the basic stuff. And then the 1 Pankratops, because it's pretty darn good. Then I do play 2 Twisters. I wanted to have a little more back row removal. I don't have Lightning Storm, so I just opted to stick with the Twisters for now. And personally, as great as Lightning Storm is, I actually like Twisters more. Reason behind that is that I can get my salad stuff engraved that I need, which sometimes you need to get salad stuff engraved, and you don't have any other way of discarding them. But the Twisters can grant you the discards that you need. 2 Dark Ruler. So I'm very 50-50 on this card, because it's not super easy to break a board in this deck. However, the only advantage that you have of playing this is that your opponent can't really interrupt your field, which is obviously a solid thing to be able to have. And then for the traps, 2 non-fusion area, 2 different dimension ground, and 1 Imperial Order. So to explain a little bit as to why I'm playing particular cards here, Imperial Order is pretty simple. Anything spell heavy, it's going to hurt. The DDRs, different dimension grounds, DDGs. The DDGs are really good because you can do this against Shadal, you can do this against Volked, anything that gets rid of their monsters, and then they're gonna struggle a little bit, which is always fun to watch. And then the non-fusion areas also for those fusion decks. This card comes in clutch so much. I've been testing it a lot on Dueling Book, and I've found that this card just puts in work. It's also really good against DDDs, which DDDs are going to be really solid. Actually, this entire trap lineup is good against DDDs. After watching like the first day of the LCS for the luxury tournament, I'm kind of guessing that we're going to see at least 1 DDD in Top Cut, because it looked like there's a decent amount of DDD decks being played, so it would not surprise me if we saw them. But all these cards are also good against that deck too. So that is the entire side deck. So that rounds up the Salamangreat deck profile there. Very fun deck, super consistent. Going forwards, it's probably your best budget option if you're looking to play something that's not expensive. For the most part, I mean, I think the most expensive card that you're going to pick up for the deck is Impermanences, in my list anyways, because the Signet Minings are cheap now, Nibiru's are like maybe 10 or 11 bucks, but outside of that, everything is fairly budget. So you guys obviously can give this deck a shot. Let me know what you think. I always encourage people to play this deck if they're playing on a budget, or if they really want to get competitive and they don't have a lot of money to do so, because it is very affordable. But if you liked the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below what you want to see next. And for right now, this is Team Yugi signing out.